Joshua, thank you so much for coming on. I was not familiar with you until about 2.5 hours ago when Chiz was like, you got to watch this guy's stuff. And I was like, I looked you up and it was like computer scientist. And I'm like, he's way too smart for me. I'm not going to get any of this. And then he's like, no, look up the family stuff then and all those stories, because apparently that really helped you blow up in a sad way. But so for people who don't know, the very quick background is you had your family fucking with you, lying to you, gaslighting you for like, it seemed like 6 years. Can you give us a little recap on that as you're financially supporting them, keeping them from being homeless, and they just seem to treat you like absolute garbage?
Yes, sure. So when I first moved after college, I got my first job. I found out that they were losing their house in the form of, I got an email that said my credit card was maxed out.
Oh, no.
And
that's not how you usually find out.
No.
Yeah. And I was really, how did you get my credit card? But when I first got here, I was unaware that they were losing their house. And it was the first time I had seen them in a few years. So we were just hanging out, and I needed some credit cards to live to my first paycheck. So I mailed those to them while I was moving, and they brought them, but they wrote the credit card numbers down. And they were buying everything for me, like taking me out to dinner and stuff while we were here hanging out with my credit cards. And so I found out months later in the middle of a work day that my credit card was maxed out. And I called and I was like, what is this? And I saw the bill. It was Kyle will know because he's in Atlanta, but it's Marietta Power Company.
Yes.
They were in Georgia. So I was like, what? I don't even live there. And so it was just kind of like a downhill spiral, I guess. But I was mad, but instead of being mad, I was more concerned that my family was in the process of becoming homeless. So I gave them my entire savings, gave them my apartment, and then went and got another apartment, and they moved here. And then after that, there was a lot of lies involved, got involved with drugs. And then I was totally unaware. I guess I'm just super naive. I mean,
Yeah. So like, I wanted to ask this because I also did a little bit of research, and it seemed like, how old were you when this specific incident occurred? When your credit card was maxed out, and you were like, "Oh wait, my family's losing their home." How old were you then?
About 25.
So prior to you being 25, had there been like little red flags along the way, like when you were a child, when you were an adolescent, when you were a teenager?
No, not so much. I think growing up it was fairly normal. I knew that they did some dumb spending things, like they would buy things that I'm like, how can you afford that? But there wasn't any, but there was never any like, that's just stealing from your kids. There was never.
It's worse than stealing. Like it's identity theft, right? Like
ruins your credit, all that stuff.
It ruins your credit. Like money can be replaced really easily. Credit is so hard to rebuild. You know, you can't just go to Chase and be like, no, you don't understand. You see, my mom stole my identity. I pay my bills. It's her. They're like, well, how do we know that she's not going to steal your identity? Can't, like, they don't believe you. They're not going to believe that shit. So
I think the decision is whether or not you want your parents to take the fall for it, right? Like in my mind, so I watched this too. The choice was I can either, accept a screwed up credit record and pay off these bills, or two, my parents go to jail. Because my credit gets stolen all the time. Not so much in the last year, but it used to happen like literally twice a month. And they'd be like, hey, we've got these weird charges at like Cumberland Farms. They're not even around here, jewelry stores, whatever. And I'd just be like, nope, that's a you problem. That's fraud. That has nothing to do with me. And they're like, all right, we get it. And it was easy as that. They just accepted my word. They were usually new cards that were open and charges. So you could have done that, but they absolutely would have gone straight to your parents to go criminal.
I mean, what do you do when you're in that situation? You want to help them out, right? Because now I'm in a situation where I can, whereas, they raised me, I went off to college, got a job. And so I figure, it feels like even though I'm upset, my credit is totally destroyed. I want to help you not be under a bridge.
You mentioned the power company charge, and like I'm in my own head, I'm processing like, well, how bad was the stealing? As if stealing's not all equal. Yeah, but like the electric bill is like one kind of stealing. If they also put like home electronics and stuff on it, that's a different kind of spending on.
And if it's a situation where they're like, 50 DVD players, and you know they're going and reselling them so that they can make cash out of your credit. You know,
I don't know what's the worst to me, because to my mind, frivolous spending is one of the meanest things they could have done.
Well, what I just suggested is like outright theft, right? Where they're taking pennies on the dollar on your credit to put cash in their pocket. You know, like.
So what was
I think we're going to get to the root of this later, but and maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but there's going to be this thing we're coming to, and it's like, at what point do you say family or not? You know, I don't want to jump the gun yet, but like that's what's in my head right now. It's like family or not.
So what was on the cards? Let's.
It was mostly just utility bills.
Okay.
I had no idea that it was even being used. Like, I never got any, like, fraud. This card is being used across the United States from you. I never got any alerts or anything like that, because I guess they had started using it before I even got it. So that was like the first time it was used. And so that location didn't trigger any red flags for them.
Right. Yeah, they don't know normal spending patterns because the new cards.
And this was about the same time you had given them a car, right? Or was that a bit afterward?
I brought them here, and they had a car, but they pawned it. They pawned both of their cars, actually. And so then they were just walking to work or riding a bike to work. And I was like, this is not right. Like, you guys shouldn't be pawning your vehicles, but also, like, you can't walk in minus 20-degree weather 2 miles like that. I mean, you can, but I'm not going to let you do that. So I got them a car. Yeah, and then they got that, like, one of my sister's friends stole it and got into a hit and run, and the police raided my house. It was just a giant mess. Like,
man, you've had so much drama in your life. Like, are you on medication now to be this chill?
No, not really. It just, I don't know. Like, I can be really upset. So, like, some days I think about it, but most of the time, I don't know. It was really hard the first year, but now,
Family must be really important to you.
I would have liked to think it was at the time. I mean, that's what
I know.
Your actions speak to that. Yeah.
Your actions are louder than words. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I love my family. I really do. Like, I've had differences with my mom and stuff, but like, I love her a lot. If she needed help, I'd help her. I'd be there in a heartbeat. But if she stole from me, like, that's a one strike you're out kind of thing. Like, if she stole from me, like if she asks for money, oh, you can have all I have and more. I'll borrow money and get it to you, like whatever it takes. But if you steal from me and you're that close to me, I can't forgive that, because that's so nefarious. I've never experienced anything like that. I've had family members borrow money and then be a little weird about paying it back. And that's one of those things where it's like, come on, like, you're going to make me come to you to ask you for my money back. Like, that's a little shitty. Like I won't mention which family member, but it's like a extended family member. And like, I've loaned them money. It took a little while to get it back. I got it back, but it was like, you made me come to you for the money. And that's a little shitty. You should like if the shoe's on the other foot, if someone borrows money from me, or excuse me, if I borrow money from someone, you're not going to have to come for that money. As soon as I have it, and I'm going to be giving you updates. Hey man, I'll have that money in 2 weeks, I think. Or actually, I won't have it all, but I'm going to have like 2/3 of it. I'm going to get that to you right now. What's the best way for me to get that money? Would you like cash? Would you like a check? Would you like PayPal? Like, I'm trying to make it right because I know what it's like. This is blowing my mind that this happened to.
It was I was watching the video. I was like I clicked the first one you made, and I was like, I mean, everybody has family problems. It can't be that bad. And I'm like bench pressing, listening to it, like using my anger at your family, like those bastards. like, I can't believe like giving them a car, them committing crimes in the car, you getting your house raided. What was the house raid like? Was it over pretty quick when they realized, the situation, or was it like, it's obviously cops in there. It's not their job to understand. It's their job to respond. How did that go?
The car was in my name because I didn't want them to pawn it, of course, which is kind of a crappy thing to have to even consider that they would do with something that you're gifting them, which is strange. But it was in a hit and run, and the tag and the insurance came back to me. And so they came to my house. And they were like, come out, hands up, all that stuff. But after they were like, I don't even have this car. Like, I'm still here, haven't gone anywhere, then they were like, oh, okay, well, you'll be contacted by the lady's insurance, and this is her info and all that stuff. And so now, even today, my car insurance is all super high for something I didn't do.
Fucking ridiculous.
So that's how that works. If they get into an accident while you buy the insurance, it's your problem.
Yep. If no one will claim it, then it just goes to the person's name that's on it.
Something that was